What happened after Jesus died? The crucifixion wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. In the hours and days following his death, the world experienced some of the most extraordinary events in history. From earth-shattering miracles to moments that transformed human hearts, the aftermath of Jesus' sacrifice changed everything. Stay tuned as we dive into the 5 powerful events that unfolded after Jesus took his last breath, events that would forever alter the course of history and faith. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ stands as a moment of profound significance, reverberating through history and shaping the very foundations of Christian belief. However, his death on the cross was not the end. It was the beginning of something far greater, something that shook the heavens and the earth. In the aftermath of his brutal death, events of immense spiritual and emotional magnitude unfolded, each one rippling through the hearts of those who witnessed them. These occurrences, both miraculous and awe-inspiring, became symbols of hope, love, and redemption. What followed after Jesus breathed his last were moments that reshaped eternity, filled with unimaginable sorrow and uncontainable joy. Let us dive deep into the 5 extraordinary things that happened after Jesus died, where human despair met divine glory. 1. The temple veil was torn apart. As Jesus' final breath left his battered body, something breathtakingly supernatural took place. The veil in the temple, which had hung as a barrier between humanity and the very presence of God, was ripped from top to bottom. Matthew 27:51. This was no ordinary curtain. It was a towering, thick symbol of separation, meant to keep sinful humanity away from the pure holiness of God. And yet, in that agonizing moment when the Savior died, the veil was violently torn apart, signifying that through his sacrifice, the barrier between God and man was forever shattered. The spiritual weight of this was staggering. Access to the divine was no longer restricted to priests and rituals. With Jesus' death, all people, broken and lost, were invited into the presence of God himself. This was a moment where the heavens seemed to cry out, as if God's very heart had been torn open for humanity. 2. The earthquake and the resurrection of saints. As if the heavens and the earth couldn't remain silent, an earthquake thundered across the land the moment Jesus died. Matthew 27:51-53. The very ground beneath the feet of the onlookers trembled violently as if creation itself was weeping, shaken to its core by the death of its creator. But it didn't end there. Tombs broke open. Graves that had once held the dead gave way, and those long past, the holy ones, rose from their eternal sleep. These saints, draped in the mystery of resurrection, walked the streets of Jerusalem, appearing to many in the days following Christ's own resurrection. Can you imagine the awe, the terror, the wonder? In those moments, death itself seemed to lose its grip, giving rise to a new dawn where life triumphed over the grave. It was as if Jesus' death was already undoing the hold that death had on the world, a glimpse of what was to come. 3. The Roman Centurion's heart-wrenching declaration. Amid the chaos and sorrow, a scene unfolded that no one could have predicted. A Roman centurion, hardened by years of brutality, witnessed the terror of the crucifixion and the cataclysmic events surrounding Jesus' death. He had watched countless people die, but there was something different, something haunting about this moment. Overwhelmed by the darkness that covered the land and the trembling of the earth beneath him, he gazed upon the lifeless body of Jesus and proclaimed, "Truly, this was the Son of God." Matthew 27:54. This wasn't just a soldier's observation, it was a soul-shaking revelation. This man, an outsider to the faith, saw through the veil of death and recognized divinity. It was as though, in Jesus' final moments, even the hearts of those furthest from God were pierced by the overwhelming truth of who he was. The centurion's words reverberated with the weight of the world, a recognition that echoed the deep, desperate longing of humanity to know its Creator. 4. Jesus' burial in a rich man's tomb. In the aftermath of his agonizing death, the body of Jesus, bruised, broken, and bloodied, was gently taken down from the cross. In an act of unexpected reverence, Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy and influential man who had secretly followed Jesus, boldly stepped forward to claim his body. Luke 23:53. This was a moment of heartbreaking tenderness. Joseph, risking his reputation and life, wrapped Jesus in linen and placed him in a tomb carved from rock, an offering of honor in a moment of unbearable grief. But this was not just any burial. It fulfilled the ancient prophecy that the Messiah would be laid to rest among the rich. Isaiah 53:9. The cold, silent tomb seemed to swallow hope itself, but this solemn burial was not an end. It was the calm before the most earth-shattering event in history. 5. The glorious resurrection on the third day. 3 days later, what began in overwhelming sorrow exploded into indescribable joy. In the early morning hours, women who loved Jesus came to anoint his lifeless body. But when they arrived at the tomb, they were met with an impossible sight. The stone was rolled away, the tomb was empty. Panic, fear, confusion, and then the unthinkable, the angelic declaration that changed the world forever. He is not here. He has risen. Luke 24:1-6. Death had been defeated, and Jesus, once dead, now lived. The despair that had crushed his followers was turned into ecstasy, their grief transformed into a wild, uncontainable hope. The resurrection wasn't just the end of death. It was the beginning of life, eternal, glorious, and free. Jesus' rising from the dead became the foundation of Christian faith, the proof that sin and death had lost their power. The risen Christ was the ultimate proof that love, sacrificial and divine, had triumphed over everything. The events that unfolded after Jesus' death are drenched in emotional intensity and divine wonder. From the ripping of the temple veil, the shaking earth, and the resurrection of saints, to the Centurion's piercing confession and the triumph of the resurrection, each moment was filled with both human despair and divine intervention. These events weren't just historical, they were cosmic, marking the ultimate clash between life and death, light and darkness. Jesus' death and resurrection didn't just change lives, they changed eternity, offering hope to all who dare to believe in the power of his sacrifice. In those moments, the world was forever transformed. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any upcoming videos. Thank you for being here, and may God bless you.